and we are live on Discovery Paranormal. Welcome to the show tonight. We shall be discussing Admiral Byrd and the South Pole specifically, Antarctica. We have a lot to talk about because some new information has come out about this. Very interesting information has come out about this. The South Pole is a very cold and horrible place. It's not the place you want to vacation necessarily, unless you like extreme conditions. It's not the place you can even access if you're just a regular old person. So even though world leaders, dignitaries, even people like the Pope have all made pilgrimages to the South Pole and have met with people unbeknownst to us. That's kind of interesting when you say, why the hell did a Pope want to go to the South Pole? Must have had some kind of long johns going on under that dress or something, man. You know what I mean? It's not really the place. I mean, it wouldn't be my first place to choose if I was going to choose a dream vacation. So, but I would like to explore the South Pole, just not in this form. I would give me some kind of robot body or something, man, so I could trek on through and look for stuff. So, Admiral Byrd, a big character, right? World, he won all the medal of honor and all of this stuff. He's got it all. Big dude, went led missions to all over the world through Antarctica, right? North Pole, South Pole. This guy was one of the first. I think he was the first actually to fly a plane across both of them. And some crappy plane at that. He was an explorer. He was criticized because of this, but he had the adventure in his eyes. You could see it. These are dashing people that back in the day, I don't think they really exist anymore. Only in a technological sense. You're not an adventurer if you're sitting in front of your computer adventuring. That's just not the way it goes. And also, like the people who really had that zest for exploration to push out there. Those are the ones. You know what I mean? Those are the ones who had an understanding of the universe. I think in their own right. All right. Did Admiral Byrd find an ancient civilization at South Pole? That's a very honest question because there's a lot of people that believe it, and you're always going to hear your people out there. I try to keep things in my life at a focused, decent, reasonable spectrum of, hey, it's plausible, right? Like, the only time if you disprove something and show it to me that something doesn't exist, I'm happy to say, yeah, okay, that's cool. But when you hear all these stories, for all my life, I've heard stories about, a secret world in the South Pole and how the Nazis kind of exploited it, and they built bases inside of this thing, and then you see like the hoopla, Hollywood hoopla, where they make movies like that, or Journey to the Center of the Earth, where you go in there and there's a big sun up in the sky and birds and blue sky, that type of stuff, right? So the Earth ain't no snow globe. I'll say that, right? It's a ball of molten smeg floating through the universe at about 180 something thousand miles per hour by the time you calculate how it spins and us going around the sun and then all this other stuff, and also the expansion of the universe, right? The Earth is moving. We are living on a hot lava rock, flying through the cold, cruel space. I hope I just made your day. It just made your day. That's us. It makes all the stuff that people get into very petty on this planet, doesn't it? When you start thinking that, like Carl Sagan said, we are this little blue dot that's out in space, and everything, all the stories, all the drama, all the history, everything that's ever happened is contained in this one little place. Yeah, we sent probes out there. We sent stuff out there with our history and whatever. But the reality is we are what we are, and we should be able to help each other and to sustain instead of the opposite. It's the opposite. People have been at war with each other. The second one person knew that another person existed, man. So, okay, do I believe that there's a secret civilization in the South Pole? I don't believe that there's a secret civilization in the South Pole as it were when it comes to do I think that they're natives wearing grass skirts who are running around or ice queens or whatever? No, no. But I also know that the South Pole back in the day didn't have any ice on it. And when you look at the Pyrrhus Reefs maps, which go back before the Ice Age, how do you accomplish that? Before the Ice Age, you're talking about quite a long time ago, over a million years ago, right? Yeah, there's parts where it pivoted and whatever. Come on, man. How do you have detailed maps of the Earth, hyper accurate, detailed maps at a time where they didn't have anywhere near the technology, not even to understand how to make maps like that? So at some point, Pyrrhus got a hold of maps that came from somewhere else, right? Passed down through tradition, and there's a lot of misnomers. There's a lot of not knowing. I'm headed out west, and I'm gonna meet with this medicine man, right? The healer in the tribe out in Arizona. Right? Now, as I've been communicating with him, and he's telling me these stories on the Navajo, and he's one of the elders in the tribe that he is like the guy with the knowledge. He's the teacher. So it's interesting how we were talking about how Native Americans had supposed to have arrived to the United States, the Americas, right, through basically Siberia and the land bridge up there about 75,000 years ago. They say between 15 and 75,000 years ago, which puts you in the middle of the Ice Age too. That type of thing. His teachings, the Navajo teaching, along with a lot of other tribes, Hopi Indians and Cherokee, they all have the same story, that they came from the East, from a great civilization, right? They were civilized, but something had happened where it all went bad. So their people crossed large rivers to get to the West, to populate the West. And then at some point, when there was major cataclysms going on, the ant people who came up, which the Hopi Indians call them ant people, they all have kind of, the Navajo say star people. So they all have like a different story. I think that you can say they look like ants. They didn't necessarily come from under the ground, or the star people came from above. There was not much of a descriptor, right? But I think that you can kind of stand back and look at the information and see that there's definitely another worldly influence. If those beings may come from somewhere else, people say, "Ooh, extraterrestrial ET," but you don't know that they come from somewhere else. Maybe they come from here. Maybe they're from the earth. Maybe they populate the earth, and maybe they helped us populate the earth for whatever reason. Just maybe for the sheer entertainment value of humans, right? Just for whatever. So I believe in those stories because these stories were told by elders that go down and down, and they hold the information sacred. It's not like a textbook in a school. That information is not sacred. It's the information. They already said that 50 to 75% of the textbooks when I was growing up were inaccurate, were wrong, all wrong. They weren't told for education purposes. They were told for more of the control purposes, right? I went other directions for my information. Even, what? You can look, and me, I'm not a fiction reader. I spent a lot of time in libraries when I was young, but I liked real stories from real people had real experiences, and telling it from not a certain point of view, but from a point of view of truth and accuracy, right? So brings me to Admiral Byrd. All I'm saying is have an open mind when you listen to these stories, because I know what people believe, I know what people don't believe, and it's all subjective, right? I don't try to convince anyone of anything because I don't have the time, the drive, or the wherewithal to try to do that. I really don't care what anyone believes. Belief is a stupid word to me, just like hope and just like prayer. They're words that are useless. Useless. You know, if you want, I mean, people confuse the words hope and faith. You can't do that. Faith is a whole different thing. Faith is something that you can use to your advantage. Faith is something that you have in yourself. Hope just puts something on somebody else's lap that you're just hoping for something to happen, and you really have no much control. You need to control everything around you. You need to create the world around you. You need to imagine the world around you. You need to focus on that. You need to plan it, and you need to build it and do it. It's that simple, right? It really is that simple. So, do I believe in the star people? Yeah. So the story was that all of these people, all these tribes, heard this type of music, something, and they were drawn to a certain location. They traveled long and far. It didn't just happen like, I kind of have the area in the Southwest where all this stuff kind of comes together, and right around the four corners, of New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, and Arizona. So that's why I'm trekking out there, and I have some unfinished business to do with the Grand Canyon and some other stuff. But anyway, I believe they all went to the one place, and then there was these ant people or these star people who took these guys, and they took them away for a time, until these cataclysms were over, and then they brought them back, and then the Earth was very different. And they call it that entering, the first world, second world, third world, fourth world, right? So when you enter this world, and even though time is different from the different worlds as has been described to me, but this world had changed dramatically. And then these people were taught how to survive in this world by the star people. All right. So let's just understand that. Okay. So I'm going to read this to you. There comes a time when the rationality of men must fade into insignificance, and one must accept the inevitability of the truth. I am not at liberty to disclose the following documentation. This writing, perhaps it shall never see the light of public scrutiny, but I must do duty and record here for all to read one day. In a world of greed and exploitation of mankind can no longer suppress which is the truth. Admiral Byrd, right? So, Medal of Honor recipient Admiral Richard E. Byrd allegedly wrote his encounter with a lost civilization in Antarctica. So, this is the guy with all the medals. He's the one with all the stuff. He's the one who's celebrated because he's an explorer. He was known for going for these polar missions. So no reason not to believe. Maybe he went batty, he went crazy. His brain got frozen from going out there. No, he was an explorer, right? No reason to not believe the things that he says, especially if he could back it up. See, that's the problem with belief. Again, when someone says something, if they don't have any tangible evidence, you either have to believe them or not believe them, or kind of believe them, or maybe believe them. It's one thing if I show you something tangible, as I say, oh yeah, this. Here, I went fishing one day, and this fish was so big, and I had it. It was getting under the boat, and it got away. Yeah, maybe not. So, all right. So here we go. According to hollow Earth theorists, and I say it like that because there are also flat Earth theorists, which make me laugh. Byrd met an ancient race underground in the South Pole. How was this left out of Byrd's mission, Operation Highjump? Could it be one big hoax conspiracy, right? Because you got to look at both sides, man. Because, people are bored. And people love to have conspiracies, and a lot of things are conspiracies because humans also love to cut each other down and to play the game. So there are conspiracies all the time because they create them. They create them, right? Especially powerful people, powerful politicians, or the big CEOs, anybody with money that can shove it around, and people will do anything for money apparently. So, according to Byrd's diary, the government ordered Byrd to remain silent for what he witnessed during his Arctic assignment. So already you have the government saying, "Shut up, don't say anything. You're a soldier. Take your orders." Nothing, right? Now that could be because of anything, because you know how paranoid the government is, especially back then, especially now. They don't want to tell you anything. They don't want to tell you how much toilet paper is used in the Pentagon a month, let alone release any other secrets like that whole UFO report. I told you it was going to be BS. They weren't going to tell you anything that you didn't already know. Yeah. No, in fact, they still cover it up with caca when they were like, "Oh, they're not alien," or "We don't know," or really, really. All right, so here you go. March 11th, 1947. I have just attended a staff meeting at the Pentagon. I have stated fully my discovery and the message from the master. All is duly recorded. The president has been advised. I am now detained for several hours, 6 hours, 39 minutes to be exact. I am interviewed intensely by top security forces and a medical team. It was an ordeal. I am placed under strict control via the national security provisions of this United States of America. I am ordered to, and this is all capital letters, I am ordered to remain silent in regard to all that I have learned on the behalf of humanity. Incredible exclamation point. I am reminded that I am a military man and I must obey orders. So, just in that little statement right there, you have a guy who is an explorer who found something amazing and wants to tell people about it, wants to bring it out to the world. At the same time, you have the military, the government anyway, telling him you can't say a word. We'll put you under the jail, right? They make people disappear. They black bag people all the time. Who, where the hell do you think the term black bag comes up? They don't take people away for this type of stuff. But all right. But I'm gonna read the sentence again. I have just attended a staff meeting at the Pentagon. I have stated fully my discovery and the message from the master. Remember that. The master. Okay, who's the master? All right. When I was getting into Taoism and reading about Lao Tzu, they would point to these ancient masters, like many cultures, like the Navajo and people like that. They point to the ones who taught us everything that we needed to know to survive in this world, right? Maybe not empathy or humanity or anything like that, but basically how to keep warm and feed ourselves and procreate, make little kids. So blah 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 blah, that type of thing. But this guy comes back with a message from somebody that he encountered at the South Pole, right? Government tells him that's it, don't say a word. So after many polar accomplishments, Byrd organized Operation Highjump in 1947. The objective was to construct an American training and research facility in the South Pole. Good, nice strategic location, right? It's a unexplored area as far as we knew. So a simple military task. Right. Some say the American government sent their troops to the South Pole for any evidence of the rumored German base 211. Nazis were fascinated with anything regarding the Aryan race. They traveled all over the world, including Antarctica, to learn more of alleged origins. The Germans did make their mark in the South Pole. However, they have discovered, what they've discovered doesn't compare to what Byrd recorded in history. So, and then there's this drawing called, they call this place Agartha, right? Antarctica's secret. And then there's this drawing of the Earth, and on the surface surface. You've got let's see, you've got your volcanoes, you've got your mountains, you've got your pyramids, and all these things kind of intersect. They claim they found pyramids on the South Pole. There's also a group that utilized Google Earth in the early days and looked at the South Pole. They found a UFO that had slid in, crashed or something, sitting there half in the ice. They have pictures of it, and these pictures have been confirmed. They put the coordinates in there, that type of thing, so people can see it for themselves. And it's not the only thing and or structure that they have found in the ice or what's under the ice. So I suggest you check it out. Go look at the pictures online and judge for yourselves. Do your own investigation because it's very interesting what they found. You know, if you're going to have a UFO base or any kind of base, if you're, I hate even using the term UFO. If you are an advanced technological species, you want to stay away from humans and avoid them, which I completely understand. Believe me when I say I'm trying to do it now, me personally. And South Pole's a great place to be. It's also the only place on the earth where it doesn't rain, which is kind of interesting, just to add that. So, but on this map, you go inside this holes, and here's Agartha, the land of advanced races, the city of Shambhala, and they have spaceship base to and from other galaxies, mountains higher than outside, man-made tunnels, all this stuff, forests, ocean, you have it all, right? Good place to visit. I wonder if there's a Best Western Plus there. What do you think, man? So then you have, of course, the Earth is made of a lot of minerals and that type of thing, and you have your different layers, and whatever. So, okay, for thousands of years, people all over the world have written legends about Agartha, sometimes called Agarta, sometimes called Agarthi, but always kind of Agarth type of thing. The underground city did Admiral Byrd find it? So he met the master, the city's leader, who told him of his concerns about the surface of the world. Now, you have to say at this point, here's Admiral Byrd already saying, all right, I got this message from the master, you know, and you're gonna have to listen. And then the military and the government will swear him to secrecy. They'll say a word, you know. Okay. So did he talk to somebody? Was he hallucinating? Did he talk to himself? Was this fantasy? But but listen to this, okay? So he said, our interest rightly begins just after your race exploded the first atomic bombs over Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. It was that alarming time we sent our flying machines, the the Flugelrads, that's what they're called, Flugelrads, to your surface world to investigate what your race has done. You see, we have never interfered before in your race's wars and barbarity, but now we must, for you have learned to tamper with a certain power that is not for your man, mainly that of atomic energy. Our emissaries, my brain's burnt, have already delivered messages to the powers of your world, and yet they do not heed. So now you have a little struggle going on. The master pissed off because we're lighting off atomic bombs like fireworks. But if it wasn't for us to have mankind, then why do we have it? You know what I mean? And if you're an advanced race, you're that powerful, you made sure. It just seems like the atomic power to me is natural progression. And whenever you discover something amazing, something huge, something so powerful, there's going to be mistakes made. And then you start learning how to control it and then use it to your advantage for the betterment of your people. That's how it's supposed to work, isn't it? Maybe not. that's my take on it, right? Apparently, the government knew about Agartha before Byrd. I don't know how that would happen either. It's kind of interesting. According to the master, places such as Tibet, the Great Pyramids of Giza, and the North Pole all have tunnels leading to Agartha. So for all your archaeologists out there, just something to look for, man. Tunnels. They just found another Sphinx not long ago in Egypt that was buried under the sand. A lot of these things are buried under the sand. But look at the South Pole with all the ice. And there are pictures of pyramids. I mean, these are perfect structures, covered in debris and dirt and whatever. But they're pyramids, man. They are what they are in the South Pole on the surface. There's also these holes that have levels and levels and levels, like tiers that go down. And it looks like it was made, looks like it was manufactured, looks like somebody made it. Maybe nature. I don't never see anything like that in nature. So these are very interesting things that we see on the surface, right? But I'm more interested in Byrd and really who this master is, and how much is a one-bedroom apartment down there in the center? Because I'm looking, and you know what? People want to get out. People want to leave, especially in New York. People want to go because of all the stuff going on. The center of the earth sounds pretty good, especially if it's warm. But this is very serious because this guy was sworn to secrecy, and he did what he thought was his dutiful thing, and then he was I mean, this guy was the real deal. Like, Byrd attended the Virginia Military Institute for 2 years and transferred to University of Virginia before financial circumstances inspired his starting over and taking a commission with the United States Naval Academy. He was forced because he was broke, had to join the Navy, like a lot of people do. A lot of people make their bones in the military. They learn all kinds of things. I mean, whatever their job is, and the training. The military spends extraordinary amount of money on training. They come out of there, they use that, and they go into business for themselves. They do their own thing, right? Let's see. He took a commission in the United States Navy. He was appointed as midshipman in 1908. This guy goes way back. While in Naval Academy, he suffered 2 injuries to his right ankle playing football. And that was real football back in the day. I mean, these guys didn't even use helmets, man. While dismounting a gymnastic ring during competition, he hurt his foot also. Although he was allowed to remain in the academy, his injuries eventually led him a forced retirement from the Navy in 1916. In 1912, he graduated from the Naval Academy, was commissioned ensign, and the rest of the story there. He was then, I guess, he was assigned. This is before he had to retire, to USS Wyoming. During service in the Caribbean, Byrd received his first letter of commendation. So you can go online and read all about this dude. He went through all the wars. First World War, after the war, 1926, his North Polar flight. They flew over the North Pole, and that was a pretty big deal. He was an explorer, and also there's a lot of controversy surrounding him because of that. So okay, let's move on. This is where the truth starts getting interesting. If you want the truth about America, you got to look at other countries and listen to them, because they have, like, when I want to read the news, I don't read the American news about America. I read like what England's got to say or Israel's got to say. I look for reliable sources in there, not people with an axe to grind like France, but reliable sources. And that's how you learn what the hell's going on, and vice versa. For people in England, their own publications aren't going to print what the hell's going on. You got to look elsewhere, right? So the Russians come out with a documentary in 2006. An extraordinary 2006 Russian documentary was recently translated to English, revealing new information about U.S. Navy Antarctica expedition in 1946 and 1947. Originally scheduled for a 6-month period, the scientific expedition was officially called the United States Navy Antarctic Development Program, given the operational name High Jump. The naval component of the Operation Highjump was known as Task Force 68 and comprised 4,700 military personnel, one aircraft carrier, the USS Philippine Sea, among the largest of the carriers of the time, and a number of naval support ships and aircraft. The naval expedition was headed by famed polar explorer Admiral Richard Byrd, who had been ordered to consolidate and extend American sovereignty over the largest practical area of the Antarctic continent. Byrd's expedition ended after only 8 weeks, with many fatalities, according to initial news reports based on interviews with crew members who spoke to the press while passing through Chilean ports. So after this had happened, this terrible thing, because they were attacked, ships were sunk, people were killed, airplanes were flying into invisible force fields and exploding in the air. This was all in Byrd's information that he wrote out, and they took it all. It's gone, right? And they're not going to tell you what's going on there. So rather than to deny the heavy casualty reports, Admiral Byrd revealed in a press interview that Task Force 68 had encountered a new enemy that could fly from pole to pole at incredible speeds. There you go. How's that? And this is the Russians. No reason not to believe the Russians, right? Yeah. Of course, you know what? The Russians are more forthcoming with information as long as it's not their own. You probably can't find out how many girlfriends Putin has, but you can definitely find out what's going on in other countries, right? Admiral Byrd's statements were published in the Chilean press, but never publicly confirmed by U.S. authorities. Indeed, Byrd did not speak again to the press about Operation Highjump, leaving it for researchers to speculate for decades over what really happened and why Byrd was silenced. After the Soviet collapse in 1991, the KGB released previously classified files that cast light on the mysteries Byrd, basically the mysterious conditions that Byrd led the naval expedition in Antarctica. In 2006, Russian documentary recently translated, made public for the first time, a 1947 secret Soviet intelligence report commissioned by Joseph Stalin of Task 68's mission was, to Antarctica. The intelligence report, gathered from Soviet spies embedded in the U.S., revealed that the U.S. Navy had sent the military expedition to find and destroy a hidden Nazi base. On the way, they encountered a mysterious UFO force that attacked the military expedition, destroying several ships and a significant number of planes. Indeed, Operation Highjump had suffered many casualties, as stated initially in the Chilean press. While there is a possibility the report resulted from U.S. disinformation fed to a known Soviet mole, the more likely explanation is that the report exposes the first known historical incident involving a battle between U.S. naval forces and an unknown U.S. force stationed near Antarctica. Okay? So now think about that. Here's the Russians saying, "Da, there's a problem," you know, and of course, they're monitoring everything. And don't think that they fed those moles so much disinformation that they truly didn't know what was going on. Information was flowing pretty freely as long as these people were able to get in there and intercept. Right, there wasn't a lot being held back. You have a guy out there now who, back in the 60s, was somebody who fixed machines that were like these topography machines and all that, so they can map out different places. So they had all these pictures of the dark side of the moon, and they invited this guy in to help fix the machine. And while he was there, the agent there was telling him about they found bases on the moon. We're not supposed to go near there. We were warned to stay away all on the dark side of the moon. We can't see it, right? That type of thing. This guy was just some normal schmo who fixed machines. He felt like he didn't even deserve to hear the information. He was afraid actually when the guy was telling him this stuff because this guy's looking at the pictures of these bases of the moon. He had them all sprawled out on the table. He was looking at them. He had to go through them, to help fix his machine and all that, right? The guy had thought it was NASA. It turned out to be the NSA, right? So it's just interesting that there's a bigger thing going on, and that governments don't tell people anything, and especially the bigger governments. If you got the China, you've got Russia, you got United States, you got the UK, you've got Australia, you've got the first world, if you want to say that. It's very important to understand that there's a club out there of a group of leaders. They get told certain things and you never hear them. They never talk about it. They don't share it. You've heard astronauts say, hey, we went to the moon and there were all these silver discs in a crater parked like a parking lot and they were watching us, or many times they went to space. They were being monitored, watched at what they were doing, right? So when you put it all together in the world of critical thinking, it all starts to make sense. All right, so here we go. It is a historical fact that Nazi Germany devoted significant resources to the exploration of Antarctica and established a pre-war presence there with its first mission in the Antarctic summer of 1938 and 1939. According to a statement by Grand Admiral Donitz in 1943, the German submarine fleet is proud of having built for the Führer another part of the world, uh, Shangri-La, an impregnable fortress. If the fortress was in Antarctica, it was built by the Nazis after the defeat of Nazi Germany, according to various sources. Elite Nazi scientists and leaders escaped this impregnable fortress by U-boats, two of which experienced difficulties and surrendered in Argentina. So you have other countries. You got Chile, who received all these troops, some of them half dying and blown up and burnt because they got their asses handed to them in the South Pole by whatever forces that were there. Saying about the silver discs and all that and the attack and the invisible force field that planes were flying into, technology well beyond anything that was understood at that time, right? And then you have other countries like Argentina saying, "Oh man, here's a submarine popping up, with Nazis in it," and then they got to deal with that, right? So, in the Soviet intelligence report, never before known testimony by two U.S. Navy servicemen with Operation Highjump was revealed. A recent article in New Dawn by Frank Joseph gives a detailed analysis of the two eyewitness accounts, only the latter of which was mentioned in the 2006 Russian documentary John P. Zhenzhwak. A radio man stationed on the USS Brownstone gave testimony of how UFOs appeared dramatically out of the ocean depths on January 17th, 1947 at 0700 hours. He said, I and my shipmates in the pilot house portside observed several minutes of bright lights that ascended about 45 degrees into the sky very quickly. We couldn't ID the lights because our radar was limited to 250 miles in a straight line. Our real war of worlds. Over the next several weeks, according to the Soviet reports, the UFOs flew close over the U.S. naval flotilla, which fired on the UFOs, which probably wasn't a good idea, which did retaliate with deadly effects, according to Lieutenant John Sayerson, a flying boat pilot. The thing shot vertically out of the water at tremendous velocity, as though pursued by the devil. Ooh, the devil. And flew between, people are so simple, aren't they? And flew between the masts of the ship at such a high speed that the radio antenna oscillated back and forth in its turbulence. An aircraft, Martin flying boat from the Currituck, had took off just a few minutes later and was struck with an unknown type of ray from the object and almost instantly crashed into the sea near our vessel. About 10 miles away, the torpedo boat Maddox burst into flames and began to sink, having personally witnessed this attack by the object that flew out of the sea. All I can say is that it was frightening. These are Here's a guy saying that it was frightening. People who had survived World War II and all that carnage, and these soldiers were handpicked to go on this mission high jump, right? They weren't just plain old. And these guys are frightened after what they've already seen. It's frightening. There was a major problem with Saracens. Quote, there have been no torpedo boat named Maddox in the U.S. Navy. In the Russian documentary, the incident described by Saracen, misspelled Syracen, refers instead to the destroyer Murdoch. So there you go. And I like how they kind of correct these things, a torpedo boat Maddox, but it's really a destroyer named Murdoch, and then a destroyer also carries torpedoes. They also carry, different devices to get rid of submarines and all that, right? There was, however, fleet 1967 begun operation. Okay, according to Frank Joseph, USS Maddox was either a torpedo boat or a torpedo carrying destroyer. He goes on to explain what may have happened to the Maddox mentioned in the Soviet report. The USS Maddox was indeed sunk by enemy action, but 5 years earlier by a German dive bomber during the Allied invasion of Sicily. Actually, there were at least 3 American destroyers known by that name. So, and they have all the numbers here, DD-168, whatever. All of them, let's see, all of them at the same time. 3 destroyers named after the main Maddox all at the same time. The U.S. Navy has long been notorious for falsifying the identity of the ships and rewriting their histories if they embarrass official policy. Well, yeah, look at all those tests and look at the Philadelphia experiment. I mean, look and what they falsified there. And all these military commanders who came out way later and said, yeah, they falsified everything, that all these reports and what happened, man. So, and not only that, the Eldridge, they took that thing and they cut it into pieces and dumped it in grease. They wouldn't let anybody near it either. Big chunks of it. All right, so if Joseph is correct, then it is very possible that the USS Maddox was destroyed during Operation Highjump, and the U.S. Navy changed official records to hide this. An alternative explanation is that the 1947 Soviet report contained U.S. Orchestrated disinformation. Again, they're saying, "Oh well, yeah, they can feed them disinformation." Sure, you always have to take that into consideration, don't you? But the reality is, something unbelievable happened, and it wasn't the Nazis. Whoever the master is, we don't know. This was Admiral Byrd, unless he lost his mind completely, making up things the master and whatever. Sounds crazy, right? But maybe not. And then something killed troops, something destroyed ships, something destroyed. They have the description of these discs flying around at the amazing speed, just like that. Okay, so what about this? I'm going to add this for you. And did I get to everything? Hold on a second. Yeah, okay. 14 greatest mysteries of Antarctica. This is not anything to do with what I was just talking about. This is just what goes on there. Underground lakes, deep lake, blood falls, unusual creatures, ancient fossils in rainforests, a Gamburtsev mountain range, singing ice, the giant hole, Mount Erebus, Southern Ocean, McMurdo dry valleys, Arctic fungi, ancient meteorites, and aliens, Nazis, and the lost city. This is just a compilation put together of the stuff that's either been discovered or whatever. A lot of it tangible, right? Okay, and we don't have much time, so I'll get to a couple of them. How about Deep Lake? Deep Lake is an inland lake in East Antarctica and has fascinated scientists for years. The lake sits 55 meters below sea level, with water salinity increasing as it gets deeper. Its salty waters are comparable to the Dead Sea and are 10 times saltier than the ocean. This means that water does not freeze despite temperatures reaching 20 below zero centigrade at its deepest point. The lake is practically inhabitable, with one of the least productive yet remarkable ecosystems in the world. Scientists have found 4 microbe species living in the waters, although it's dangerous for most other animals. Some penguins have been spotted swimming near the water, but they can easily die if it gets colder. Okay, Blood Falls. In the Murdu Dry Valley, a bright crimson 5-story waterfall pours out of Taylor Glacier into Lake Booney. It looks like a gush of blood from a wound of ice, but scientists have recently discovered cause the cause of this mysterious phenomenon. Usually, if it's blood water or something, it's going to be some kind of like algae or whatever. But the water that feeds Blood Falls was once a salty lake and now cut off from the atmosphere due to the formation of glaciers up top. The water is preserved 400 meters underground. That's kind of interesting. Unusual creatures, and they got what do they got? The crustaceans, colossal squid, leggy spiders the size of dinner plates, giant worms with shiny golden bristles, and a large sharp toothed jaw. You know, it's funny. Booney Falls. Like, who names these things, man? You know, I was looking at a map of Pennsylvania, Intercourse, Pennsylvania. Yeah, really? I mean, very horny. Had to, you know, next to Hornyville, next to who that baby's daddy, Pennsylvania. You know, like there's even a bump ass Virginia. There's a lot of weird stuff, man. And who lives in these places? That's what I want to know. Ancient fossils in rainforests. Let's see. Antarctica is an ancient land that has undergone some incredible transformations over a million years before it became a frozen desert. After the Ice Age, Antarctica was actually a warm region with rainforests and possibly civilizations. So already, let's say that you have this amazing ecosystem. You got these rainforests. You have a civilization that has great technology, and they grow and grow. Let's say the civilization is 2 million years old, right? You know, our civilization, humans, and our technological capability anyway is just a little more than 100 years, if you even want to call that technology, right? So imagine a species that had been around for 1 million years, but is able to create, and obviously concerned that we're lighting off atomic bombs. You know what I mean? Concerned, man. So, but here you have these stories about the rainforest, right? Scientists have also found tons of fossils and marine animals, birds, and dinosaurs from the Cretaceous period. Among the smaller species, they've uncovered the fossils, forewings of a beetle, species that lived between 14 and 20 million years ago in a warmer climate, and tiny single-celled fossils, all that, right? So, and what about they got a mountain range? Antarctica holds many secrets beneath the vast sheets of ice. Even a massive mountain range, let's see, 3,000 meters. That's pretty good. And we're going to end the show shortly. So I'm just kind of, how about the giant hole? Ooh. A hole the size of Ireland opened in Antarctica in 2017, known as the Polynia. The hole is nothing new, except with the span of 78,000 square kilometers. It's the largest hole to be observed since the 1970s, and the first one to open in 40 years. Found in the Weddell Sea of the Southern Ocean, the Polynia was formed due to the warmer, saltier water found in the deeper parts of the sea. All right, boring. Eh, Mount Erebus, we got that. Was that here's that? Was that pyramid, man? Because they got some cool pyramids there. They got like pyramids. Oh, these are pyramids. That's all I see is a pyramid. Can nature make that structure? I don't know. It looks pretty damn exact. You know, here's a lost city. Let's see. Every year there are dozens of reported UFO sightings, while Google Earth has captured some unusual activity said to be the work of aliens. It's a hotspot for alien hunters, so keep your eyes peeled for any kind of bizarre lights in the sky. The mystery of Antarctica continues deep below its surface where no one has gone before. It is said that the lost city of Atlantis is hidden beneath the kilometers of ice. So then you drag Atlantis into it, right? Which, technically speaking, was supposedly all between what south of the Americas and Africa and all that, like that large chunk of ocean, right? It's highly possible that a civilized civilization existed in Antarctica. It's yet to be proven, right? It's also theorized that the Nazis had used underground Antarctica as a secret hideaway. Hitler did have a passion for the occult and searching out anything and anything. That's true, though. Little freak really liked to search stuff out. You know, the Great White Continent is the most baffling and unexplained corner of the Earth, and despite the dedicated efforts of scientists around the world, we may never know its secrets. So, what do you guys think? What do you think about Antarctica? What do you think about Admiral Byrd? When I look into Admiral Byrd's eyes, I see a guy who has a drive and a thrust for exploration. And people like that aren't political. People like that are fact finders, explorers. So you can judge for yourself with all the information that's out there. Do I think there's an Earth inside the Earth? I think that yeah, there could have been a civilization there. Yeah, if you're looking for alien bases on the planet, there's only a few places they can hide that we can't reach yet. We can't reach the depths of the ocean really. Maybe we have some probes that can get close, but miles down, 7 miles down, we don't have anything that could do that. And on top of that, I mean, and these UFOs have been seen. I mean, just with those recent accounts of these aircraft carriers going head to head with these things, and UFOs floating above the aircraft carriers, going into the sea at amazing speeds, or up 80,000 feet and then down into the ocean and then 500 knots under the ocean, stuff like that. The things that we can even measure what they do, So obviously, there's technology out there that is well beyond our own. And do I believe about Byrd talking about the master? There's no reason not to believe it unless the guy had some kind of psychotic episode and made it all up in his mind, which is highly unlikely. He's not didn't appear to me to be that kind of person, right? So and definitely the government had a thing like, okay, we got to cover this up. But look at the alien battle that happened, over Nuremberg in the 1500s when discs were shooting light at one another. They're crashing, and a larger ship, an arrowhead, shows up, and these discs go in it, and they all disappear together. The scientists say, "Oh, it was sunspots," but yet the people in that town wrote about it. They actually had a little newspaper. They wrote about the newspaper. They made art drawings, wood carvings of the event. This was not sunspots. This was an actual thing that happened. And another time it happened over Switzerland not long later. So you have to take all this into account when you think of these stories of the Earth, and also stories of the Navajo telling about the star people. So I'm going to end the show there. This is Michael Engley on Discovery Paranormal. I'll see you guys next week on our exploration, the explanation of our exploration on United Public Radio Network, UPRN Talk Radio.com. Bye.